We cannot come. Mother's quality. My spouse is throwing a party, and we cannot simply abandon our guests. The ones were the precise words Isaac said to the physician when he changed into informed I was loss of life. Literally dying. My coronary heart had failed 3 times within the ambulance, and my 42-year-old son selected Mela's appetizers over his mom's existence. I lay here installed to machines that preserve my coronary heart beating, looking at the ceiling of this bloodless medical institution room. It is 2:00 inside the morning, and I am absolutely on my own. The heart. Screen beeps erratically, reminding me that each beat can be my final. And my sons are 30 away toasting with champagne. The scent of disinfectant mixes with the metal taste in my mouth because I woke from emergency surgical operation. My hands tremble whenever I attempt to move them. And it's not just the medication. It's the craze coursing via my veins like natural venom. Mrs. Stone, please try to rest, whispers the nighttime shift nurse. She's a younger girl, possibly the age of my daughters-in-law, but her eyes maintain a compassion I have not visible in my circle of relatives for years. The medical doctor stated, the most important factor now's so that it will live calm. Calm. How am I able to be calm whilst I've simply located that to my kids? I am less crucial than a celebration. Doctor. Miller was very particular, whilst he instructed me approximately the calls 2 hours ago. His words, nevertheless, echo in my head like hammer blows. I informed them explicitly that this will be her ultimate night time, that the coronary heart assault turned into large, and that we wish them to come without delay. Benjamin's reaction turned into even worse than his brother's. Health practitioner, she cannot wait till the following day. Diana organized the whole thing weeks earlier, and all the visitors have already arrived. My mother is strong. She's continually recovered from the entirety. I've usually recovered from the whole thing. That word reverberates in my head like a painful echo. I recovered when their father abandoned us 25 years ago, leaving me with 2 young adults and mountains of debt. I recovered after I needed to work 3 jobs to place them through non-public university, cleansing offices at sunrise, waiting tables at a diner in the course of the day, and sewing clothes overdue into the night. My fingers, nevertheless, undergo the scars from the sewing machine. I recovered when I bought my house, that little inexperienced residence with a garden in which they grew as much as help Isaac with the down price for his personal. It's best brief, Mom, he had informed me. I'll pay you back in 2 years. That was 8 years in the past. I recovered. After I lent my life savings, $28,000, that I had saved penny via penny for decades for Benjamin's business that in no way took off. It's a secure funding, Mom. In 6 months, I'll pay you back the whole thing with interest. The business folded after 3 months. I recovered when Mela informed me in front of the complete own family at last Christmas dinner that my olive green get-dressed wasn't suitable for the occasion, and that I have to dress greater my age. I recovered whilst Diana decided my Sunday dinners were an excessive amount of paintings, and that it turned into hire to reserve takeout. I recovered when they steadily stopped inviting me to family gatherings, due to the fact you understand how Grandma is always trying to provide her opinion on the whole lot. However, that is exclusive. This time it is no longer about lost cash or unnoticed. This time, it's about something I can't recover. The expertise that, when it certainly mattered, while my lifestyles hung via a thread, they chose to live at a celebration. Doctor. Miller had explained to me in a grave voice, Mrs. Stone, you had 3 Cardiac arrests during transport. The paramedics controlled to resuscitate you, but you have been technically useless for 4 minutes. It is a miracle you are here to me. 4 minutes useless, and my youngsters have been involved about not ruining Mela's crimson birthday celebration decorations. The door to my room remains closed. No involved calls in those 5 hours, seeing that I wakened. No text messages, simply the consistent sound of the machines keeping me alive and the echo in their words. We can't. My spouse is throwing a party. Exams my essential symptoms every hour. Your blood stress is a bit high, she says with true difficulty. Are you considering something that's making you worried? If she simplest knew I was considering 66 years of unconditional love thrown away for a birthday cake and balloons. At this moment, as I observe the metropolis lighting through the clinic window, something interior me is breaking definitively. And it's no longer my coronary heart. It is something a good deal deeper. It is the remaining drop of wish I had that perhaps. Just perhaps, I still mattered to someone on this global. Day after today they'll call. I am certain they may display up with reasonably priced grocery store plant life and excuses. They may say they failed to recognize the gravity, that they idea it turned into every other certainly one of my exaggerations, like after I fell and fractured my wrist last year, and it took them 3 days to come back see me. However, it's too late. Tonight, they have got shown me exactly where I stand on their precedence list. And that place is very, very low. I close my eyes and transport myself lower back 40 years. Isaac become 2 years old, and Benjamin had just been born. We lived in that small 2-bedroom house inside the lakeside community, with walls so skinny I ought to listen the buddies breathe. Robert, my husband then, worked on the fabric factory, and I stayed domestic looking after the children. I take into account flawlessly the scent of toddler powder and the sound of their giggles when I bathed them in that second-hand plastic bath we sold. Isaac became continually the clingiest. With me. Mommy, mommy, he could repeat all day, following me around the house on his chubby little legs. Benjamin changed into extra unbiased. However, when he were given ill, he became my shadow, asking me to sing that lullaby I had discovered from my mom. The entirety for my children. I advised myself as I sewed garments until 3:00 within the morning to promote on the market on weekends. Every greater greenback went without delay to their needs. New footwear when they grew, college resources, Isaac's soccer lessons, Benjamin's guitar. Instructions. I wore the equal gray dress for 2 years immediately, but they were constantly impeccable. The primary sign that something changed into converting came when Isaac turned 25. He had met Mela at his task, a calculating lady with a great smile and continually immaculate nails. The primary time he added her to dinner, she examined my house as though she were comparing a dilapidated property. She stated to me, with a smile that did not reach her eyes, "Don't you observed it might be better if Isaac and I spent Christmas at my vicinity this year. My circle of relatives has deeply rooted traditions, and well, my mother is used to doing matters a certain manner. That Christmas, I ate alone for the first time in 25 years. The turkey I had bought remained, untouched, inside the refrigerator for a week. Once I requested Isaac how dinner have been, he replied, "It was wonderful, mother." Mela's residence is staggering. It has a eating room that seems like it's directly out of a magazine, and the meals, well, her mother is a really good cook dinner, as though my 30 years of cooking for him had supposed not anything. Benjamin observed the equal pattern 2 years later. Diana turned into exclusive from Mela, extra subtle in her manipulations. She didn't exclude me without delay. She genuinely made small feedback that gathered like raindrops until they shaped a puddle of lack of confidence. "Oh, how adorable your crimson sweater is," she might say with a condescending smile. "It's very antique, is not it?" I constantly inform Benjamin that women our age want to update their wardrobes occasionally. Or when I organized my famous lasagna, that recipe I had perfected for many years. It's true, mother-in-law, although it's a bit heavy for my digestion. I decide upon lighter, extra contemporary meals. Benjamin has gotten used to my cooking style. Invitations to circle of relatives' dinners started to unfold out. First, it was Diana is not feeling well and prefers something intimate. Then, the youngsters have a number of homework and need peace and quiet. In the end, they sincerely stopped inviting me. My lifelong neighbor instructed me bluntly one afternoon while we were having coffee. "Pricey, your daughters in regulation are pushing you far away from your sons. It's the oldest tale within the book. I've seen this film 1,000 times, but I refuse to believe it. They're good girls. They simply need time to evolve to the family. Adapt. They've been married for 5 years. They have got already tailored. They have adapted you to be the grandma who indicates up for emergencies and leaves quietly." She was proper, however it harmed to admit it. I had began to sense like a stranger in my own children's lives. Conversations have become mechanical. "Hello, Mom. How are you?" "Right. Us too. Nicely, we're going to call you later. We are busy." The toughest blow got here 2 years in the past, once I sold my house to help Isaac. Mayla had discovered her dream house in a one-of-a-kind community. However, they needed 100,000 for the down charge. "Mom," Isaac said to me with that voice he used whilst he was a child and wanted something. "I comprehend it's a lot to invite, however it is our possibility. It's splendid. Funding. In 5 years, this residence may be worth double." I offered my little greenhouse, the one wherein I had raised my youngsters, wherein their heights have been marked on the door frame, in which they'd taken their first steps. I moved to a small condo in a building without an elevator, but they had their dream residence. The primary time I went to go to them in their new residence, Mayla greeted me on the door with a hectic smile. What a surprise. You should have known as first. We're looking ahead to a few pals for dinner. She did not invite me in. I stood on the edge of the residence I had helped buy, feeling like a salesperson arriving at the wrong time. "I just got here to convey you this," I stated, handing her a chocolate cake I had made specifically for them. It was Isaac's favorite because he changed into an infant. "Oh, how exceptional. However, you recognize we're trying to consume healthier. Isaac is being very cautious after his high cholesterol scare." She held the cake as though it had been contaminated. That night, I cried myself to sleep. My son had cholesterol troubles, and I found out with the aid of hazard through a communication at the door of a residence I had helped buy. With Benjamin, the situation turned into unique, however similarly painful. He had usually been extra direct, much less diplomatic than his brother. While his electronics import business started having troubles, he got instantly to the factor. "Mom, I need $8,000. It is to store the enterprise. If I do not get them this week, I'm going to need to near and be in debt for years." It became all my savings. Each greenback I had stored working at dawn. Each coin I had set apart from my pension for 10 years. But he turned into my son, my toddler, whom I had carried in my arms for whole nights while he had a fever. I'll lend it to you, my son, but I want you to signal a notice. It's not mistrust. It is just to have everything so as. Diana was outraged. A word. Severely, you're going to rate your own son hobby. What form of mom does that? Ultimately, I lent him the cash without a note. He's your son, I informed myself. He is aware of what that money means to you. The enterprise folded after 3 months. The $8,000 vanished at the side of years of sacrifices and goals of a dignified vintage age. Benjamin told me, Mom, you know the way these groups are. Every so often you win, from time to time you lose. At least I tried. As if my cash had been casino chips and not the result of many years of labor. Now linked to these machines in this bloodless health facility, I remember that all the one's moments have been getting ready me for this night. This night while the mask eventually fell, and that I should see the bare truth to my children, I'm dispensable. The pain had began 3 days in the past, at some point of Sunday lunch at Isaac's house. It became my 66th birthday, although no person seemed to take into account it. Mela had prepared a light salad and grilled hen. Not anything like the celebrations I used to organize for them when they were youngsters. Mom, you appearance worn out, Benjamin had said to me while selecting at his food. Without looking up from his telephone. Are you slumbering well? The fact changed into, I hadn't slept nicely for weeks. A atypical pressure in my chest woke me each night at 3:00 inside the morning, as if someone had been sitting on my ribs. However, I failed to need to worry them. I didn't need them to assume it changed into another one in every of my exaggerations, as they had started to name my illnesses. I am satisfactory, honey. Just a little heartburn at night time. Mela had let loose a dry chuckle. It is simply that at our age, the body doesn't manner food the identical way. I tell my mom she desires to eat lighter, fewer spices, less fats. A 66-year antique female's frame is not similar to a 30-year vintage's. That afternoon, as I was on the brink of leave, Diana arrived with information that broke my heart without her understanding it. Wager what? We ultimately got a date for my birthday party. It's going to be this Wednesday at the Grand Plaza Lodge Ballroom. I have been making plans it for months. Wednesday. My real birthday were. On Sunday, but nobody stated it. On Wednesday, they have been going to have fun Diana with all of the pomp and circumstance in the world. It's going to be remarkable, Diana persevered excitedly. I employed the quality catering provider inside the town. There may be going to be live song, themed decorations, and over 50 visitors have already confirmed. Benjamin gave me this golden dress that priced $1,200. $200 for a dress, more than I spend on garments in 2 years. I remained silent, feeling that pressure in my chest intensify as I watched my son smile proudly for having spent in a single night time what lasts me 6 months. Mother, you are glaringly invited, Benjamin had instructed me. However, his tone sounded greater like forced courtesy than real preference, even though you understand it's going to be an fashionable affair. Diana invited many important people from her paintings. The message became clear. Come, however, do not embarrass us. On Tuesday night, an afternoon earlier than Diana's huge party, the stress in my chest had come to be insufferable. My left arm ached, and I had nausea that made me double over in mattress. I known as Isaac at 11 at night. Mother, what's wrong? We're watching a film. My son, I experience very unwell. I have a chest ache that won't go away. Did you are taking something? Chamomile tea. Perhaps it is pressure. You have been very tense recently with Diana's birthday celebration. Look, we're going to stop by way of to peer you the following day after the party. I hung up, feeling greater on my own than ever. Even my ache had to watch for my daughter-in-law's celebration to quit. That nighttime, I couldn't sleep for a minute. The ache spread via my jaw, my neck, my back. It changed into, as if a large elastic band turned into tightening round my torso. At 5:00 within the morning, I known as. My expensive, that doesn't sound true at all, she stated after hearing my symptoms. I'm coming over and taking you to the health facility. No, it's Wednesday. It's Diana's party. I don't need to destroy. Break what? You're describing coronary heart attack signs and symptoms. Do you think a celebration is extra essential than your life? It seems it was. It seems that for my kids, a party become more vital than my lifestyles. Arrived at my condo at 6:00 inside the morning and determined me sitting on the threshold of the mattress, sweating coldly and breathing with difficulty. We're going to the clinic right now, she said with that firmness that simplest true pals have. Inside the taxi to the sanatorium, the ache intensified to the factor of being insufferable. It felt as though a knife was being plunged into the center of my chest and slowly twisted. I squeezed hand with all my may. Dangle in there. We are almost there. Inside the emergency room, everything took place in no time. The cardiogram confirmed annoying irregularities. My blood strain was via the roof, and the cardiac enzyme levels showed what the medical doctors already suspected. I used to be having a large heart attack. We need to perform immediately, doctor. Miller had informed me as he prepared the to take me to surgical operation. Is there all people we are able to name? Close circle of relatives. With a voice choked with the aid of ache and medication, I gave them my kids' numbers. Please tell them it's urgent to come back now. Stayed retaining my hand till they took me to the working room. I'll live right here until you come back out. My pricey, you are no longer alone. But I was on my own. As they administered the anesthesia, the ultimate aspect idea approximately became my youngsters getting equipped for a celebration while I fought for my lifestyles. I awakened 6 hours later, with checking my crucial signs and asleep in the chair subsequent to my bed. My children were conspicuously absent. Did my children call? It was the first thing I requested. Even though from his expression, I already knew the answer. The physician spoke with them in the course of the surgical procedure. He explained that you had 3 cardiac arrests, that the state of affairs turned into essential, that they had to come straight away. My heart, already weak, shrank even extra. And what did they say? Hesitated earlier than answering. She certainly didn't need to be the messenger of this betrayal. However, I needed to listen the entire truth. Your oldest son said they had been at a very critical party, that they couldn't abandon the visitors, that you had continually been sturdy, and that they were positive you'll recover. Tears started out to roll down my cheeks uncontrollably. It wasn't simply the bodily pain of the publish operative length. It became the pain of coming across that Diana's birthday party with its $1,200 golden get dressed, and elegant appetizers become worth greater than all the years I had committed to elevating them. Your youngest son persisted softly, asked if they may come tomorrow morning after the party ended. Awakened hearing my crying, and right now, got here in the direction of the bed. My pricey, what took place? Does something hurt? The whole thing hurts. It hurts to have devoted my entire life to 2 children who prefer a celebration to understanding. if their mom goes to survive the night. At that moment, looking at the medical institution ceiling at 300 inside the morning, at the same time as my children toasted with champagne. 30 m away, I made a decision that would exchange the whole lot for all time. The following 3 days were a roller coaster of emotions by no means concept, I might should revel in. Every hour that exceeded without a call from my youngsters felt like a deeper stab in an already literally broken heart. Had started out to avoid my gaze when I requested her if everybody had known as asking about me. On Thursday morning, 24 hours after Diana's party, the room phone finally rang. My heart raced a lot that the system commenced beeping alarmingly. It became Isaac. "Mother, how are you? We just determined out you had been inside the hospital. Why didn't you tell us something?" Blood rushed to my head. After the entirety that had occurred, after the medical doctors had referred to as them a couple of times, he had the audacity to ask me why I hadn't informed them whatever. "Isaac," I stated in a voice I did not apprehend as my own. "The doctors called you on Wednesday. They informed you I was loss of life and that they needed you to come at once." There was a clumsy silence on the other quit. "Of the road." "Oh, yeah. Well, Diana's birthday celebration become very critical. People had come from a long way away. We couldn't just cancel the whole lot. Except you've continually been very robust, Mom. We notion it is able to wait some hours. A few hours. My lifestyles could wait a few hours. Mom, do not be dramatic. You are excellent now, right?" The physician stated the operation turned into a hit. "Look, we're going to prevent by way of to see you Sunday after lunch. Does that paintings? Sunday. 3 days away. My first coronary heart attack could wait till after Sunday. Lunch." I hung up without announcing goodbye. Who have been pretending to prepare medications to give me privateness, approached with an involved expression. "Mrs. Stone, your blood stress simply skyrocketed. Are you okay?" "No, I'm not okay, and that I do not think I will ever be K once more." That afternoon, Benjamin arrived, however no longer on my own. He become accompanied by way of Diana, who regarded radiant after her a hit celebration. She becomes sporting golden jewelry that matched the dress she had worn to the birthday celebration, and her makeup turned into perfectly implemented. I, in the meantime, had greasy hair, a stained clinic gown, and tubes popping out of my arms. "Mother-in-law, how are you? You gave us pretty a scare," Diana stated with a grin that failed to reach her eyes. Benjamin informed me what occurred. What horrific good fortune that had came about simply on the day of my party, right? Terrible luck. As if my heart attack had been a deliberate inconvenience, especially to break her party. The party changed into exquisite. "Mom," Benjamin instructed me as he sat inside the chair furthest from my mattress. "You ought to have visible the decorations." Diana honestly herself. Over 60 people came, which include Diana's boss and numerous essential clients from my work. He was approximately the party, whilst I were combating for my life. He changed into about the decorations and the crucial contacts they had made. "How are you feeling?" Diana requested me, but her tone advised she predicted a quick, high-quality answer. "You look a great deal better than we expected. Docs in recent times paintings. Miracles proper." The health practitioner said, "I had 3 cardiac arrests," I told them, staring at their reactions. "I used to be clinically dead for 4 mins. Benjamin shifted uncomfortably in his chair. "Nicely, but it is over now, Mother." The essential component is that you're alive and getting better. The essential component, I repeated, feeling something interior me harden like cement. Is that at the same time as I used to be demise, you have been eating appetizers and guffawing with guests. Diana frowned. It is not fair that you're making us experience responsible. We failed to are aware of it was that serious. Except, what were we going to do on the hospital? We are now not docs. It become higher for us to be where we may be beneficial. Organizing the birthday celebration that had fees so much money and attempt. Beneficial. Organizing a party become extra beneficial than accompanying their death mom in regulation. Appearance, mother, Benjamin interrupted. Diana and that I talked, and we decided we are going to help you greater. We are able to forestall by means of to look you as soon as per week, perhaps on Sundays after lunch. And if you need something pressing, you can usually name us as long as it's no longer all through work hours or while we have vital commitments. Once a week after lunch, if they did not have crucial commitments, it changed into, at that moment, looking at my youngest son, communicate to me as though I had been a burden to be redistributed on his schedule, that something definitively broke inner me. It wasn't my coronary heart. This time, it became something lots deeper. It changed into the remaining shred of hope I had, that maybe someplace, very hidden, there has been nonetheless. Something of the love I had planted in them, a majority of these years. You understand what? I stated to them in an unusually calm voice. You are right. You should not feel responsible. Both visibly secure, wondering I had understood their point of view. You should not feel responsible, I persisted. Because to feel guilty, you want to have a judgment of right and wrong, and you lost yours a long term in the past. Diana's expression modified immediately. There is no need to be rude. We came here to support you, despite the fact that we have 1,000 activities. To help me, I laughed, but there was no humor in my laughter. You came to meet the minimum social attempt required to be able to say you visited your sick mom. You came so that you could sleep peacefully, knowing you probably did your true deed for the day. Benjamin stood up, sincerely irritated. Mother, you are being unfair. We simply explained why we could not come earlier. Diana's birthday party changed into important to us for our future. We cannot cancel our lives every time you have got a fitness trouble. Whenever I've a fitness problem, as if heart attacks have been colds, I stuck often to get interest. You're right, my son, I instructed him, feeling an odd calm take over me. You cannot cancel your existence, and I may not ask you to ever once more. Diana smiled, questioning she had received. I'm satisfied you recognize mom and regulation. It is vital that all of us have healthy limitations in family relationships. Wholesome boundaries. That turned into an interesting manner to explain. Emotional abandonment. They stayed some other 10 mins, speaking specifically amongst themselves about their weekend plans. Approximately an experience they were making plans for next month. Approximately a brand new rug Diana wanted to shop for the dwelling room. I used to be just a silent spectator in their wealthy and busy lives. After they subsequently left, vaguely promising to go back soon, I used to be left on my own with, and the weight of a revelation that become converting me absolutely. Mrs. Stone said to me as she checked my IV. I do not like how you look. Do you want me to call a person else? Do you've got other circle of relatives members, near pals? I have, I said. And reputedly, that's more than I had with my personal youngsters. That night, as I listened to the sounds of the hospital and felt the throbbing pain in my chest. I started out to devise something I in no way concept I might have to do. Something definitive, something that might show them the authentic fee in their choices. That nighttime, I could not sleep. It wasn't simply the physical ache that still pierced my chest like daggers, but an intellectual clarity I hadn't had in years. For the primary time in decades, I was seeing my lifestyles without the filter of unconditional, motherly love. I used to be seeing truth as it become, no longer as I had wanted it to be. I sat up in the sanatorium bed and asked for paper and a pen. "Are you going to write down letters, Mrs. Stone?" She requested me with that sweetness I had come to understand extra than the visits of my personal kids. Something like that, I spoke back. "I need to place my thoughts so as." I commenced to write down, and the words flowed as if they had been awaiting years to come out. It wasn't just a letter. It changed into a whole stock of my existence. An emotional accounting I had by no means had the braveness to do. Expensive Isaac and Benjamin, I wrote with a trembling hand. For 66 years, I've lived for you. Each decision I made, each sacrifice I made, each dream I abandoned became together with your well-being and happiness in thoughts. Nowadays, lying on this hospital mattress after having been clinically useless for 4 minutes, I in the end take into account that you have not lived a single day considering mine. Tears began to fall onto the paper, smudging some words, but I persisted writing. I had 66 years of factors to mention. While your father abandoned us, I was 35 years vintage, and also you had been 18 and 10 respectively. I was younger. I was appealing. I had suitors who desired to begin a family with me. However, I selected to stay by myself, to devote myself absolutely to you. I didn't need any man to make you sense, such as you have been a burden or that. You were inside the way. I sacrificed the possibility of having an associate, of having greater kids, of getting a complete love existence due to the fact you have been my absolute precedence. I remembered Mr. the who lived throughout the road, and who for years delivered me flowers every Friday. He changed into an excellent, tough-working guy who courted me with the staying power of a person who is familiar with the price of vital matters. But I constantly informed him that I couldn't consider romance, that my children wanted me. He married some other female 5 years later, and I endured alone raising them. I worked 3 jobs for 8 years to pay in your personal university. I persisted writing. I wiped clean offices from 4:00 to 7:00 in the morning. I worked at the diner from 8:00 to 4:00 inside the afternoon and sewed clothes from 6:00 until nighttime. I slept 3 hours a day from Monday to Saturday. Sundays I devoted absolutely to you. I washed your clothes, cooked your favored meals, helped you with homework, took you to the park. My fingers started to pain, but I had to write the entirety. It became as if by putting it on paper, I used to be finally giving actual weight to all the one's years of silent willpower. Isaac, while you married Mela, I sold my house that will help you with the down price for yours. That green house where you grew up, where you learned to stroll, where we spent the nice Christmases of our lives. I offered it without thinking twice, because you said it became your possibility to have a higher lifestyles. I moved to a 1-bedroom condo on a 4th floor without an elevator. However, you had your dream residence. I finished writing for a moment to wipe away my tears. Approached with concern. Are you feeling well, Mrs. Stone? Your blood stress goes up once more. I'm exceptional, honey. For the primary time in years, I'm perfectly satisfactory. I persevered with the letter. Benjamin, while your business changed into failing, I lent you my lifestyle savings, $28,000 that I had stored dollar by means of dollar for 10 years, operating weekends until I used to be 70, selling food at the door. Of my constructing, saving each penny of my pension. It become my security for vintage age, my peace of thoughts which will get ill without being a burden to everybody. However you needed that money, and I gave it to you without hesitation. The irony hit me like a slap. I had spent my monetary safety so they would not see me as a burden, and now they noticed me as exactly that, a burden. But none of this topics now, I wrote, feeling that every phrase freed me a bit more. What has really killed me has not been the economic sacrifices. What killed me turned into coming across that on Wednesday, when I used to be fighting for my existence on an running desk, you were toasting with champagne at a party. I closed my eyes and allowed myself to relive that humiliation over again. It changed into vital to feel the full weight of that betrayal, a good way to do what I needed to do. The doctors referred to as you at 2:00 in the afternoon to inform you that my heart had failed, that I had had multiple cardiac arrests, that the state of affairs was crucial. They literally told you this can be your mother's remaining night time. And you responded which you couldn't come because there has been a celebration with appetizers and live tune, became really worth more than the existence of the woman who delivered you into the world. The phrases had been becoming blurred with the aid of tears. However, I persisted. I wish to finish these days. I understood something I need to have understood years in the past. You do not love me. Perhaps you cared for me whilst you were youngsters and wanted me. However, that feeling evaporated the moment. You became independent. Now I'm simply an uncomfortable social obligation, a person to visit now and again to hold up appearances. My hand trembled as I wrote the subsequent lines, because I knew that after I positioned them on paper, there might be no turning again. This is why I have made a decision, so that it will exchange our lives all the time. I cannot preserve to stay as a mom, begging for crumbs of attention from youngsters who see me as a nuisance. I'm able to no longer preserve to foe that obligation visits and courtesy calls are enough for me. I cannot hold to simply accept that my life has less fee than a party, than a dinner with pals, than a busy weekend. I paused to trap my breath. My heart became pounding, but it wasn't worry I felt. It was liberation. When you study this letter, I will already be long passed from your lives for all time. Don't look for me. You won't locate me. I have determined to start over in a place wherein no person is aware of my story, where I'm able to sincerely be, no longer the deserted mother who sacrificed herself for ungrateful children. Approached once more. Mrs. Stone, it is already 4:00 within the morning. You have to relaxation. I am almost executed, honey. Only some more lines. I'm not making this choice out of anger, but out of self-love. The equal love I gave you these kinds of years, I can ultimately supply to myself. I should be surrounded with the aid of folks that value my presence, who care approximately my well-being, who pick my enterprise in place of tolerating it. I used to be reaching the end, and each phrase introduced me towards the freedom I have been unknowingly searching for. Do not assume me to return returned. Do not assume a reconciliation. This is my definitive goodbye. Be glad together with your busy lives, your vital events, and your clear priorities. I may be satisfied far away from you. I signed with my complete call, Rosewood, your mom, until nowadays. I cautiously folded the letter and placed it in the nightstand drawer. Tomorrow, I might give it to with specific instructions on when to deliver it. For the first time in days, I fell asleep. Without crying. On Friday morning, I woke with an extraordinary feeling in my body. It wasn't the bodily ache I had been wearing since the heart attack. It changed into something one of a kind, a combination of anxiousness and excitement I hadn't felt in decades. It changed into the feeling of being about to take manage of my very own lifestyles for the primary time in years. Arrived early, as she had been doing every day considering my operation. She brought a thermos of coffee, and that warm smile that jogged my memory that there had been. Nonetheless, people in the global who simply cared approximately me. Suitable morning, expensive. How did you awaken? You look one of a kind today, more peaceful. I want you to do me a very vital desire. Perhaps the most important I've requested you in most of these years of friendship. She sat within the chair, subsequent to my bed, with an extreme expression. Tell me what you want. You realize you could expect me for something. I handed her the letter I had written at some stage in the early morning hours. I need you to provide this to my sons, but not now. Wait till Sunday afternoon, come to visit me. Took the envelope carefully, as if she knew it contained something that would change the whole lot. What is this, my expensive? It's my freedom, I said with a grin that even amazed myself. And I need you to assist me with something else. I want you to help me disappear. His eyes straight away filled with situation. What are you speaking approximately? Are you taking into consideration harming yourself? Because if so, no, I interrupted her, taking her hand. Mine. I am no longer speaking approximately suicide. I'm talking about rebirth. I am talking about starting a brand new existence far from here. A ways from youngsters who do not cost me. A long way from this city, where in every nook jogs my memory how an awful lot I've given, and the way little I have obtained in return. I explained my complete plan. For the beyond few hours, I had been thinking about each detail as though my mind had been watching for years to plot my very own liberation. I have money saved in an account my youngsters do not know approximately. I informed her. It's no longer a good deal, but enough to begin. It is $8,000 I've been saving from my pension for the final 3 years, after Benjamin lost my savings in his failed commercial enterprise. I've it at the National Financial Institution, in an account completely in my name. Listened to me with a mixture of admiration and subject. But where are you going to head? Do you have got circle of relatives in another town? I've a cousin in Dallas, Wish. We have not spoken in 5 years. However, I recognize she lives alone in a huge house she inherited from her husband. I am going to write to her. I'm sure she would take me in for a while, until I am getting settled. It became authentic. Desire had usually been one of a kind from the rest of the family. She become an independent female who had by no means married or had children, and who had constantly instructed me she fashionable my electricity. On the few events we spoke at the telephone, she had hinted that if I ever wished a trade of scenery, her house became open to me. The plan is easy, I endured explaining too. On Sunday, when my children come, it'll be the last time they see me. Once they leave, you help me get out of the medical institution. I am now not going to officially check out. I am clearly leaving. I'll depart the letter on my mattress and disappear. And your things, your rental. I already talked to about this. She has a sister who's a lawyer, and she or he's going to assist me make a power of lawyer so you can contend with everything. You can promote my furniture, keep something you want, and use the money to pay what's left of the lease. Till the agreement ends. I in no way favored the condo besides. It become too small, too sad. Remained silent for a protracted moment, processing everything I had instructed her. Are you sure approximately this? It is a totally large decision. When you leave, it's going to be very hard to return lower back. I do not need to come back. That is precisely the idea. I want my children to apprehend what it feels like to be deserted via family. I need them to know what it's like to look for a person you love and not find them. I want them to stay with the guilt of getting lost their mother by deciding on a party over her lifestyles. The words got here out of me with a clarity and backbone that surprised me. It changed into, as though some of these years I were gathering electricity for this second. Besides, I persisted, I'm 66 years vintage. If I stay to 80, I have 14 years left. Am I going to waste the one's years begging for interest from youngsters who see me as in duty? Or am I going to use them to peer new locations, make new friends, perhaps even find the love I by no means allowed myself to have? For the first time considering that I had commenced explaining my plan, smiled. You are right, my expensive. You have every right within the world to be happy. And in the event that they cannot provide you with that happiness, then you definitely want to locate it someplace else. Precisely. And I want you to vow me something else. When my children come searching out you after reading the letter, once they beg you to inform them in which I am, I want you to tell them you do not know because you clearly may not know. I am now not going to inform you my actual address in Dallas until I'm completely settled and sure I do not want them to locate me. Nodded with determination. I promise, but I need you to preserve me updated on how you're to name me at least as soon as every week, so I realize you are safe and nicely. Of root, you're the actual own family I've. You're the sister I never had, and the most effective character who cares about my properly being. We spent the rest of the morning planning the info. Might take care of contacting sister for the criminal papers. I would call my cousin Hope from the hospital's smartphone to provide an explanation for my state of affairs. I also had to withdraw my 8000 from the financial institution and convert it to cash for the trip. You understand what is the saddest factor about all this? I said to as we organized the remaining details. That I am more enthusiastic about this new lifestyles than approximately whatever that has befell inside the last 10 years. I feel like a teenager planning to run far from home, but in preference to going for walks far from controlling dad and mom, I am going for walks far from ungrateful youngsters. It is no longer sad, my expensive. It is releasing. You've spent your entire grown-up lifestyles dwelling for others. It's time, with a purpose, to stay for yourself. That afternoon, I referred to as Wish from the hospital phone. Her voice sounded surprised, however in reality glad to pay attention from me. What a pleasant marvel. How are you, cousin? Desire, I want to tell you something important. I'm going through a very hard scenario with my kids, and I want to make a thorough trade in my lifestyles. Is your invitation from years ago to go to you in Dallas nevertheless open? She didn't hesitate for a second. Of direction, cousin. This house is too huge for me alone, and I might love to have company. What is going on? Are your children okay? My kids are flawlessly great. I responded with a bitterness I couldn't conceal. A lot, so they don't need their mom for something. I will tell you the whole thing after I arrive. However, I need to go away right here as soon as possible. Come every time you need. You have a room looking ahead to you, Right here, for as long as you need. When I hung up the phone, I felt as though I had just offered a price tag to freedom. Sunday arrived faster than I anticipated. I woke up at 6:00 in the morning with a mixture of anxiety and excitement that churned my belly. It turned into my remaining day being Isaac and Benjamin's mother. Day after today morning, I'd honestly be a free girl beginning a brand new existence. Observed my nervousness as she checked my critical signs and symptoms. You look very demanding nowadays, Mrs. Stone. Are you concerned about something? At the contrary, honey, I am excited. Today is the remaining day of a lifestyles that now not serves me. All through the morning, I mentally reviewed the whole thing I had planned. Had withdrawn my $8,000 from the financial institution on Friday and had it saved at her residence. Sister had organized the energy of legal professional that might permit to deal with my legal affairs. My cousin Wish became looking ahead to my arrival in Dallas with open arms. The whole thing became ready. Isaac and Benjamin arrived precisely at 2:00 inside the afternoon. As they had promised. After lunch, of course, Diana got here with Benjamin wearing a new coral get dressed that in all likelihood value more than I spent on food in 2 months. Mayla arrived 15 minutes later, apologizing due to the fact she had had to complete a high-quality vital painting's name. Mother, you look a great deal higher, Isaac stated to me as he sat in the chair furthest from my mattress. The doctor told us you may probably be discharged this week. Yes, Mayla. Intervened. We said it was not possible for it to be as severe because the docs had said. You've constantly been very strong, very robust, as if my electricity were an excuse for their abandonment. And what plans do you've got whilst you go away the sanatorium? Diana asked me with that fake smile she had perfected. I'm hoping you understand that with our painting schedules, it'll be tough for us to go to you very frequently, but we can call you on weekends. Call me on weekends in the event that they didn't have greater vital commitments of direction. In truth, Benjamin said, Diana and that I were speaking, and we idea it might be a terrific concept with the intention to recollect moving into one of these senior residing centers. You understand, in which there are 24-hour nurses and activities to preserve you busy. A nursing domestic. They wanted to place me in a nursing home after forsaking me all through my coronary heart attack. There are a few very pleasant ones. Diana persevered, excited by means of the concept. We visited one remaining weekend just to test it out. It is very smooth. The food appears decent, and it's now not that luxurious. It fees about $2,000 a month, but with your pension and a small contribution from us, it'd be absolutely possible. $2,000 a month, the equal quantity Diana's get dressed price for her birthday celebration. Best of all, Isaac brought, is that you'd be surrounded by means of human beings your age. You can make buddies, play cards, take part in sports. It would be a great deal higher than being by myself in that condominium, where no person can deal with you if something takes place. I remained silent, looking my sons plan my existence as though I have been a logistical problem that needed fixing. They weren't asking me what I wanted to do. They have been informing me that they'd decided for me. Except, Mayla endured, it would be more secure for anyone. When you have some other clinical emergency, the workforce there may want to deal with it without us having to desert our jobs or essential commitments. There has been the naked reality. They wanted to make certain that the subsequent time I was loss of life, they wouldn't be at some point of their essential commitments. And while did you plan to enforce this plan? I requested them with a relaxed that amazed me. Properly, there is no hurry, Benjamin said. However, maybe inside the next 2 or 3 months. That manner you've got time to get used to the idea, and we can save for the initial charge. 2 or 3 months, the time they gave me to put together for my reputable exile. You know what? I said to them, feeling a bizarre smile forming on my lips. I think you are right. I think I want to make a thorough trade in my lifestyles. The 4 of them visibly cozy, questioning I had time-honored their plan. I'm glad you see it that way, Mother. Isaac stated, it's going to be best for all and sundry. Truly, I brought, it's going to be fine for everyone. They spent the next hour speaking amongst themselves about the details of the senior residing facility, about their work plans, about the holidays they have been making plans for next month. I was just a silent spectator of the communication, approximately my personal future. Diana confirmed Mela pics on her phone of the party, that celebration. That had been extra important than my life. Look, this is the cake I ordered. Isn't it stunning? It cost $300, however it was well worth each penny. $300 for a cake. A quarter of what I spent on meals in a whole month. And that is the get-dressed Benjamin gave me, she persevered, swiping to every other photograph. Isn't always it divine? It is fashion designer. It fee $1,200, but my husband says I deserve it. She deserved it. She deserved a $1,200 get dressed. However, I did not deserve them to return see me, while I used to be loss of life. At 4:00 within the afternoon, they commenced to make the typical farewell gestures. Mela checked out her look ahead to the 1-3 time in 5 minutes. Diana yawned exaggeratedly. Benjamin manifestly checked his smartphone. Properly, Mother, Isaac stated, status up. I assume it's time for us to go. We've dinner with Mela's dad and mom, and we don't need to be late. Dinner with Mela's parents. Of direction, they were in a rush to go away. It's okay, dears. Move in peace. Each of them gave me a quick, superficial kiss on the brow, the type given out of duty. Diana even wiped her lips later on, as if my pores and skin had left some unpleasant residue. We will name you this week, Benjamin promised from the door. And we're going to start studying greater senior residing centers, Mela brought. Take properly care of yourself, mother-in-law, Diana stated with that fake smile. And don't worry approximately something. We will cope with the whole lot. They left, leaving in the back of the heady scent of Diana's highly priced fragrance and the echo in their empty guarantees. I was left on my own within the room, looking at the door through which my youngsters had just left. In a couple of minutes, would are available in to assist me with the very last section of my plan. In some hours, I might be on a bus to Dallas. By way of the next day, the health facility mattress could be empty, and my kids might be studying the letter that could alternate their lives for all time. For the first time since the coronary heart assault, I surely smiled. It wasn't a smile of happiness, however, of liberation. It was the smile of a woman who had finally decided that her very own lifestyles turned into really worth greater than the emotional consolation of ungrateful children. Got herein for the afternoon checkup. How do you experience after the go-to, Mrs. Stone? I sense loose. For the first time in a long time, I experience absolutely unfastened. Loose. Loose from what? Loose from the illusion that I am essential to each person apart from myself. At 6:00 within the afternoon, arrived punctual as usually. She carried a small suitcase with clothes she had packed from my condominium and the 8000 in cash. Prepared in your new existence, my pricey. More than prepared. I've been watching for this second for years, without understanding it. At 7 within the nighttime, because the health center corridors started to drain, and the night shift settled into its greater comfy habitual, and that I positioned into motion the plan that could exchange my existence for all time. It became extraordinary to sense a lot adrenaline at 66 years old, as though I were a teen walking away from domestic instead of an older lady taking control of her very own destiny. Are you positive you want to try this? Requested me one last time, as she helped me dress in the clothes she had brought from my condo. As soon as we leave here, there can be no turning back. I've been 40 years without turning back. From the day I decided my kids had been extra vital than myself, I have never had a way lower back. This is the first time in many years that I sense like I'm shifting closer to something, no longer jogging far away from something. I placed on the darkish green dress I had offered ultimate. 12 months, however, had by no means worn because Mela had commented that the color didn't suit me. Today, it seemed best. It became the of new wish, of a fresh begin. Got herein at the precise second we had coordinated. Her shift ended at 8, and she had agreed to help us with the maximum delicate part of the plan, leaving the hospital without an official document of my departure. Mrs. Stone, are you prepared for this? My sister is expecting you in the parking zone with all of the criminal papers you need to signal, equipped as I have ever been for something in my lifestyles. I took the letter from the nightstand drawer and located it at the pillow, really seen. It turned into a white envelope with my children's names written in my nest handwriting. It looked so innocent, so easy. However, I knew those 4 pages might smash the cozy international they had constructed with the aid of ignoring my existence. Remember, wait till day after today afternoon to give them this. That manner, I've time to get to Dallas and settle in a bit earlier than chaos breaks out. I consider flawlessly, my dear. The following day at 5:00 inside the afternoon, I'm going to Isaac's house, and I am going to present them the letter. And after they question me where you're, I am going to inform them precisely what you advised me that I do not know. We walked through the medical institution corridors as though we were regular visitors, leaving after traveling hours. We're very smart to pick out this time. There has been sufficient motion of human beings, so we wouldn't be conspicuous. However, now not a lot that each person could pay unique interest. To an older female with a small suitcase. Inside the parking lot, we have been met by means of Sarah, sister. She turned into a woman in her 40s, with a critical but type expression who extended her hand professionally. Mrs. Stone, I'm Sarah Miller, attorney at law. My sister defined your state of affairs, and that I need you to realize you have my full aid. What you are doing calls for a number of braveness. Thanks, counselor. Do you've got all of the papers equipped? Here there. This strength of attorney gives Mrs. Johnson entire authority over your monetary and prison affairs in this town. She will sell your property, cancel contracts, cope with any troubles that arise. I also prepared this report certifying that you are mentally in a position and that you are making this decision with full awareness of the effects. I signed all the papers underneath the yellowish light of the automobile parking space, feeling that with every signature I moved in addition away from my preceding existence and toward my freedom. And if my children try to use these documents to claim me, mentally incapacitated, I asked. Impossible, Sarah replied hopefully. I've witnesses. I've medical documentation that proves you are in complete ownership of your colleges. And I've evidence that this is a well selection, now not an impulsive one. Except, you are an aged grown-up with an absolute proper to determine wherein and how to live. Followed me to the bus terminal. The taxi experience changed into silent, every people misplaced in our own thoughts. While we arrived, I purchased a price tag at the night bus, departing for Dallas at 10 at night time. It is a 12-hour ride. The terminal worker defined. It arrives the next day at 10:00 within the morning. Best. By the point my children acquire the letter, I'd already be 400 m away, beginning my new existence. Said to me as we waited in the ready room. I want you to realize that I'm very happy with you. I do not know many ladies your age who have the braveness to begin from scratch. I am no longer starting from scratch. I am beginning with 66 years of enjoy, with $8,000 in my pocket, and with the certainty that I deserve something higher than crumbs of interest. Whilst my bus became introduced, we hugged just like the sisters we had come to be all through some of these years of friendship. Take desirable care of yourself, my pricey, and contact me as quickly as you arrive so I realize you are secure and well. I'll name you each week. You are the actual own family I've left. The person who has clearly shown me that my nicely being matters. I got on the bus with my small suitcase and my coronary heart complete of an emotion I hadn't felt in years. It wasn't precisely happiness, however something deeper. It became recovered dignity. I found my seat by using the window, and because the bus pulled away from the town wherein I had lived all my lifestyles, I took out to ship one closing text message to my kids. I had determined during the trip to the terminal that I needed to send them something, not to give an explanation for my reasons. That turned into already inside the letter, but so they would. Understand that this goodbye turned into very last. Isaac and Benjamin, by the time you examine this, I can be a long way away. In my sanatorium bed, you may discover a letter that explains the entirety. Don't search for me. That is my final choice. Be glad along with your busy lives and your clean priorities. I might be satisfied without you. I dispatched the message and right now became off my. I did not need to study their determined replies, their attempts at emotional manipulation, their ultimate minute pleas. That they had had a lifetime to show me they loved me, and they had selected to reveal me the alternative. The bus endured along the night avenue, taking me by means of mile away from a lifestyles of unrecognized sacrifices and closer to an existence of latest possibilities. Through the window, I noticed the lighting of small cities passing by using, homes where other mothers were likely having dinner with kids who valued them, in which other families stated goodbye with genuine kisses and fulfilled guarantees. At 2:00 within the morning, when most passengers had been snoozing, I remained awake thinking about the entirety I had left in the back of and everything that awaited me. I felt no unhappiness, no guilt. I felt something I hadn't skilled in a long time, desire. My cousin Wish had informed me that Dallas became a lovely town full of parks and markets with perfect weather and heat humans. Here you may start over. Here, no person will realize your story, and you can write a brand new one. Writing a brand new story. I preferred that concept. For the primary time in my adult lifestyles, I used to be going to be the protagonist of my very own story, not a secondary character in my kids' lives. The bus endured on its manner, taking me towards my freedom. I arrived in Dallas at 10:00 in the morning on Monday, precisely as I had calculated. The sun shone with a depth I hadn't seen in years, as though even the climate becomes celebrating my new lifestyles. My cousin Desire changed into looking forward to me on the terminal with a smile that right away jogged my memory of my mother, her aunt, who continually said that actual circle of relatives wasn't the one who shared your blood, but the one that shared your ache and your joy. "What a pleasure to see you," she stated, hugging me with a warm temperature my personal kids hadn't given me in years. "You look worn out from the trip, but there may be something one-of-a-kind to your eyes, as if you left a very heavy burden somewhere along the way." "It is proper, cousin. I left 40 years of burden in a health center, 400 from right here." At some stage in the ride to her residence, Wish told me approximately existence in Dallas, about the markets in which I ought to purchase clean vegetables for pennies, approximately the parks in which women our age amassed every morning to exercise and socialize, about dance classes for seniors, about part-time activity opportunities for skilled humans. Right here, no one will judge you for starting over at 66. This city is complete of tales of rebirth. Her house changed into exactly as she had described it, huge, full of light, with a backyard in which roses, jasmine, and a lemon tree crammed the air with fragrance. My room had a window overlooking the lawn and a mattress with white sheets that smelled of lavender. "This will be your own home for so long as you need, cousin, and if making a decision to live for all time, it will be an honor for me." That first afternoon, even as Hope prepared a meal that reminded me of my youth, I acquired the call I were anticipating. It turned into, "I just added the letter." It was precisely as you imagined. "Inform me everything. I wonder how they reacted." I arrived at Isaac's house at 5:00 in the afternoon as we agreed. They were having a quiet own family dinner. Once I instructed them I had a letter from you, Mela rolled her eyes and stated, "It is possibly another, certainly one of her dramatizations, because we have not visited her in 2 days." I laughed bitterly. Even my letters, they taken into consideration dramatizations. But while Isaac started out studying, his face absolutely changed. He went light as a sheet. He started reading aloud, and anybody fell absolutely silent. While he finished, Diana screamed, "This be real. Mothers don't abandon their kids." And Benjamin began dialing your telephone desperately. "And what did you tell them once they asked where I used to be?" "Precisely what you asked me to." "I instructed them I didn't. Which you had only requested me to supply the letter and hadn't instructed me in which you were going." Isaac became livid and yelled that it become impossible for me now not to know something. That we have been superb pals, however I stood firm. "How did they appearance whilst you left?" "Devastated. However, it wasn't unhappiness I saw on their faces. It became panic. The panic of knowing they had misplaced something for all time, and that it was their personal fault. That night, lying in my new mattress in my new town, with the heady scent of jasmine wafting via the window, I acquired dozens of ignored calls and text messages from my kids. I failed to solution any, however I examined them all. "Mom, please name us. We will speak approximately this." "Isaac. This is ridiculous. Mothers can't just disappear." "Mela, Mom, I understand you're dissatisfied, however this is intense. Come returned, and we will repair the whole thing." "Benjamin, mother in regulation, I suppose you're overreacting." "We love you. We just have busy lives." "Diana." The messages endured for days, turning into gradually more desperate, extra pleading, greater privy to the value of what that they had lost. "Mom, I went to the sanatorium and observed your bed empty. The health practitioner said you left without being discharged. That is dangerous to your health, Isaac. Please, Mom, Least let us know you are okay. We're very involved. Benjamin, we've been thinking, and you're proper approximately many things. We are able to trade. Come back, please, Mela. But it turned into too overdue for modifications. It become too late for regrets. They'd had 40 years to change, 40 years to price me, 40 years to show me that my life mattered. I wasn't going to present them a second hazard. 3 weeks after my arrival in Dallas, I had already set up a routine that crammed me with a peace I hadn't regarded in a long time. I woke up early to stroll in the park with a collection of women my age who had welcomed me as if I were a lifelong pal. I had discovered a element time activity at a downtown boutique assisting girls who preferred my enjoy and accurate taste. Inside the afternoons, I took painting training at the Cultural Middle, something I had constantly wanted to do, however, by no means had time for because I was too busy sacrificing myself for my kids. You look 10 years more youthful, Hope told me one afternoon as we painted together inside the lawn. It's superb. What freedom can do for a lady. She changed into proper. I felt reborn, as though the 66 years of sacrifice were only an education for this new lifestyles, where I should eventually be myself. A month later, I met Mr. Harrison in dance elegance. He became a 70 antique, retired, with type eyes and a clean chuckle. There has been not anything romantic between us. However, it was best to have the company of a person who treated me with admire and admiration, who valued my verbal exchange and my presence. He advised me one afternoon after dancing, I do not know what added you to Dallas, but I am hoping it turned into something true because your arrival has really been something suitable for everybody. My children's messages had progressively reduced from determined to pleading, from pleading to angry, from irritated to resigned. The final message I had obtained a week ago, Mom, if that is what you actually need, we recognize it. We simply need to recognize you are K and happy. We found out many stuff because you left, and you are proper. Approximately the whole thing you said. We are hoping one day you may forgive us, Isaac. Forgive them. Perhaps someday I ought to forgive them, however I ought to never neglect. And I might virtually never pass lower back to being the mom who begged for crumbs of attention. 6 months after my arrival in Dallas, as I had coffee inside the garden on a sunny morning, I pondered on everything I had won through losing my children. I had won dignity, self-recognize, genuine friendships, new experiences, and the possibility of reciting my closing years as I wanted to live them, not as others anticipated me to stay them. My phone rang. It become together with her weekly call. How are you, dear? You sound happier and happier. I am better than ever. Yesterday, I enrolled in a literature course at the college. Consider at 66 years old, I'm going to examine something I usually cherished, but may want to in no way due to the fact I was too busy raising children who failed to price me. It makes me so happy to listen you like that. And them, have you ever heard something? I see them every now, and then posting photos on social media. They keep with their busy lives, their essential parties, their pressing commitments. The distinction is that, now, I don't have to faux I care. That night, as I wrote in the diary I had began preserving, I pondered on the bravest choice of my life. It hadn't been smooth. There were moments of loneliness, moments wherein I neglected the phantasm of having a circle of relatives that enjoyed me. However, the one's moments have been becoming less frequent, replaced via the deep pleasure of sooner or later reciting for myself. Dear Diary, I wrote, today I turned 67. It's the primary birthday. I have fun without looking forward to my youngsters to name. without feeling upset by their indifference. Wish prepared a small birthday party for me with our pals from the park. And for the first time in a long time, I felt in reality cherished and valued. This is the life I deserve. That is the life I must have always had. I closed the diary and seemed out the window at the moonlit garden. Day after today could be some other day of my new life, some other day of freedom, another day of without a doubt being. Not the abandoned mom, not the sacrificed girl, however, a complete female dwelling on her own terms. And for the primary time in 40 years, that turned into extra than sufficient. In case you enjoyed my tale, you can aid me by way of sending an exceptional thanks, so I will write more stories like this. Thanks loads in advance. What about you? What would you do on this person's footwear? I might actually like to hear your thoughts, so drop them inside the feedback. I'm constantly curious to realize what you believe you studied. Oh, and let me realize where you've heard this story. If you need to hear greater lifestyle stories like this, like the video and subscribe to my channel. There are many more expecting you. Big hugs.